Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to create a mounting like this one, creating your own dynamic workflow and keeping it totally parametric. This is a great approach for signets in general, but also mountings where you have a larger stone like a solitaire. So yeah, what you'll end up with is something that you can control many aspects of. So like the blend here, and here you also will be able to control the shape of the shank and the thickness and the stone and its orientation and actually its type. You can change all of those factors while maintaining parametric history using this approach. So yeah, let's just get started. Okay. However, actually, before I show you how to do it, I'm going to show you how I have done it in the past. So this is a way of creating the top half of a kind of a signet or a sculptural solitaire mounting using some dynamic commands. I mean, obviously, Matrix Gold has signet commands here, or dynamic commands for signets, this one and this one. And those they're great if you're looking for something pretty basic, and but I'm not, I'm never looking for something basic. So anyway, this is one approach to creating the top half of a signet. And what I've done in the past and what I've seen other people do is to create the top half or some portion of the top and then cut it and then use what's left to make the shank. So for example, that would work in this case like this. And then you kind of grab these curves here and then you sweep them around the bottom of the shank. And this is pretty flexible, especially if these blends, you create them dynamically. I don't have them here because I didn't preserve the history for these things, but you know, you can get a pretty far way with this totally parametrically, but you will eventually have to fillet this, and if you want more control over the profile shape and also what happens down here, this approach just leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. So I'm going to put it to bed. Okay, so the first thing, actually, let's just get rid of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a whole bunch of, I'm going to populate my dynamic commands list over here with just the basic skeleton of my design. So I'll start with a ring rail. 7 is fine. And again, just to emphasize, all of these settings will be, or all of the parameters are really flexible, even all the way to the end. So you can be pretty loose with this beginning step. Okay, and I'm going to add an outside ring rail now. I'm going to change this to something a little bit more tapered. All right. I'm going to add a gem on ring rail. All right. And now I'm going to create some commands, or I'm going to create some curves using gem commands. So I need an offset curve. I'm gonna, and you could leave this, you know, and just see how it goes, but I kind of know what I'm looking for, so I'm going to do this ahead of time. I want my girdle spacing to be 1, and then I want to lift it up by 1 also. And then I'm going to create gem guides and give them the same spacing. I want these to be in the north-south orientation. I end up sort of using points on a compass a lot when I'm thinking about where things are in space, but so I'm going to make this planar with the offset curve and then gorilla spacing one also. Okay. And now I need a profile placer. So I'm going to go back to Tools, Profile Placer. I'm going to select my inside curve and then my outside. And I'm just going to press return to accept this. I want to use my own curves here. So I have some curves. They're right here. I'm just going to import them. I made them already. I like using my own curves a lot in with this profile placer tool. And there are a couple reasons that I like to use my own curves. One is if you type curve seam, you can see where the seam is, and in this case it's right where I want it, right in the middle of the bottom. And that is true for this one as well. And another reason I like using my own curves, if you turn the points on, you can see that they both have 12 points. And I created this gumdrop looking curve just by moving points around on a circle. So I want the bottom of my shank to be totally round, but the shoulders I want to be half round. And I know if I create a sweep with two curves with the same amount of control points that are pretty similar, I'm not going to get any weird like lines on my sweep or seams getting all twisted. So that's my approach. You can import these ahead of time into a library, I think somewhere here. Add profile to library. I don't often do this because I may not really need the curve again. It might be specific to this job, and then I end up with a library of curves. I don't really know what they are, and then blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to open this back up, Profile Placer, and I am going to add my curve this way. I'm going to just go to my editor, and then I'm going to get rid of this big circle. I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard, and then I'm going to come here, add from Rhino. I'm just going to press that, and I'm going to pick this one. This only works if your curves are totally planar, so you just want to make sure they're completely flat. Then I'm going to press enter, and I could save it. I'm not going to. I'm just going to accept, and there it is. I'm going to make it 5, and then I'm going to bring it down here. I'm just holding shift to snap. But this is the gumball shape, the gumdrop shape, and I don't want that one, so I'm going to just do the same thing here. I'm going to press delete, and then I'm going to add from Rhino the circle, press enter, and accept. I'm going to make this 2.5. Okay, and now I'm going to activate auto sweep. And so there is the beginning of my shank. Okay, I'm going to hide these. All right, so now if you recall, I'm just going to bring this one back for a second. Hang on, sorry, should have left it here. I'm just going to slide it over. All right, so now basically I need to make the transition from the top plateau here to somewhere, you know, in my shank. And so I'm first going to cut the top of my shank off, and then I'm going to create some blends and build a surface that connects the top plateau to the kind of plateaued area on my shank. So I'll just hide this. So I'm going to, actually first I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it shank. Oops. And then I'm going to create another profile placer. here, and I'm going to select my ring rail. And I do have a curve in my library I like to use. It's just a centered circle. And I'm going to, oh, that didn't work. Let's try that again. I double click or just press select. And then I want it to be, parallel to my C-plane, so I'm just going to flip it like that, about 90 degrees. And then I want to make this curve just larger. I want it to exceed the size of my ring. So I'm just going to overdo it and type 25. Okay, it's nice and big. Can't go wrong with that. And then I'm going to rename this cutter. All right. And now I'm going to create a cutter using this, as I have alluded to here. I'm just going to use extrude curve. Grab this guy. Okay, it's going the wrong way, but that's okay. Easy to fix that. I'm just going to extrude it first. Why not? I'm here, so it doesn't really matter. You're aiming for something that's taller than where the table of your stone is, so this will probably do fine. Then I'm going to cap it, and then I'm going to rename this. It takes a little extra time to rename your layers, but it's really so worth it. Okay, and then I'll come back to Profile Placer, and then I'm just going to flip it upside down. So see here, I'm just grabbing this area on the gumball, and I'm going to type 180. So now you can see it's pointing in the right direction. All right, and I can see it's too low. You can see here that the plateau starts, I don't know, maybe a third of the way from the inside to diameter of the ring. So I'm going to go for something more like that. Oops. So I'm going to move that up. You can use a gem offset curve here also to do this, but I don't really want it to be linked to the stone, because then if you change the stone, it automatically changes where this curve is. Okay, and before I create any more curves, I'm going to use Boolean difference to cut the shank. So I'm going to select the shank and then the cutter, and I'll rename it. I always like to specify what kind of Boolean it is. All right. Okay. I don't actually need to see this big circle, and so I'm going to hide it. Okay. And actually, I don't need to see these profile curves either. I don't like having more visual information than I need, and it appears they're hidden, but that's because we used auto sweep, and then I used the auto sweep in a Boolean, so it's hiding those, but they're not all parts are hidden, so I'm just gonna hide them again. Okay, and actually I'm gonna turn the ring rails off. Okay, so now I want to create some blends. I'm going to blend here, and then I'm going to mirror those around. So I need a few things to do that. I need a ISO curve from the shank, and the reason I cut it is because I want my okay, I'm just going to hold shift here, so I want it right in the middle, 0.5. The point is on the U surface, doesn't really matter, but I want it to be in the middle. And as I was saying, I cut the shank top off first. You know, obviously you have this curve here already, and you can use these in a blend. However, I want my blends here and here to terminate at the same exact point. So by cutting the shank, you limit the size of the curve, or the end of the curve. Okay, and I'm going to call this one west. Okay, because looking down, it's at the west point of the compass, obviously. Okay, and then I'm not going to use extract isocurve here because I can't grab an isocurve here because it's a seam. But what you can do is just, and it's easier, frankly, just duplicate this edge here. Okay, and then I'm going to rename this south. Okay, so now I'm going to create my blends. I'm going to use these top vertical pieces of the gem guide in each blend. So I'm going to do 2. Where is it? It's here. I'm going to use my shank curve first, and then make sure you're picking the top one. This can be tricky sometimes. Okay, they look like they're both going in the wrong direction. So I'm going to flip them both. And then again, this blend is arbitrary right now. You can always come back in, so I would just say that looks fine. The one thing you do want to make sure is that the point that you're choosing is at the bottom of this gem guide, and that this point is right here as far as it can go on your isocurve. All right, and I'm going to name this one west. Okay, and then I'm just going to right click to run that again. I'm going to select my first curve here, my duplicated edge, and then this one. This looks like this is going the wrong direction, but this one looks pretty good, I think. There we go. Oh, sorry. And I just want to make sure my position is as far down as it goes. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm going to hide my gem guides again because I used 2 pieces of the gem guides. They appear hidden, but I just want to totally hide them. Okay, and now I'm going to mirror these. So I'll select this one, and I'm holding Shift. And then I'm going to come to my transform menu and mirror these in X and Y, or north and east. Okay, and now these are grouped. So if you want to select them individually, you either have to ungroup them or just hold Control Shift. Okay, and the final thing that I need is this edge right here. So I'm going to just rename this one. Okay, get the point. And so I'm going to go back to curves and duplicate edge. And just going to grab these both. And then I'm going to call this shank top. And then I just need to join this because even though when you select it here, it looks like one thing, it's actually in 2 pieces. It's just in a group. So I need to join them so that they are one curve. So I'm going to go to Tools and Join Dynamically. All right. So this is where, just for a minute, I stop using matrix gold dynamic commands and I use a Rhino history enabled command. You're probably all familiar with network surface. So I'm going to type network surface into the command line. And actually, let's just slide this open. I keep under settings here. I always have help selected. And if you open the help tab and keep auto update selected, then anytime you type something into the command line, you can see it here. And so I can see here that history is enabled, and I want to make sure I have record history on. That's an important piece of this. So that's good. That's what I want. So I'm gonna, because there is no dynamic command yet that works quite as well, in my opinion, as network surface. You can create sweeps using these curves and these rails, but it's hard to cap things that are sweeps. You might get one edge that's planar and one edge that's not, and I just find this much easier. Okay, so enough yammering. I'm going to select these and then this, and remember these are groups, so I'm going to hold Control Shift to select these independently and then enter. And you have some choices here. You have loose, which just changes it a little bit. But I'm going to stick with position because I really want to make sure that my edges of this surface are planar. That's important. So by choosing position, you ensure that, or at least that's what I'm assuming. Okay, so that's fine. And now anytime I use Rhino commands, and if you've seen any other video I've made, I'm like a broken record here, but I always put them in light green. So if I'm going to use just a regular piece, a regular Rhino command, or create geometry that is not dynamic, then I am always going to put it in light green. That's just a habit I have. So because if you want to combine Rhino commands with dynamic commands, you can't delete them once you've used them in a dynamic command. You have to just let them exist, but you may not want to see them. So if you put it on a layer that you always can hide, then they work really well. So yeah. And the other quick thing to note, which again I've said like other times, it's probably repetitive, but if you use two things in combination, so because I built this network surface from these blends, and those are dynamic, if I hide any of these elements used to make my network surface dynamically, meaning I come here and I hide them here instead of just a plain old hide or shutting off a layer, it will break the history, and then this parametric the parametric history will be broken also. So if you need these yellow curves to go away, just do it here, or you can type hide, but a dynamic hide will break history. Okay, so the next thing to do is just cap this. So I'm going to go back to using dynamic commands now. I can see that both top and bottom are capped. That's good. Okay. I am also experiencing this weird situation where sometimes dynamic commands put something on this green layer. So I'm just going to move that over. And now I can hide my network surface. You can kind of see it peeking through, but I don't want to see it, so I'm going to hide it. And now to my point, if you change any of these parameters here in your dynamic workflow, they will change your network surface. And because you used the network surface to create a dynamic cap, those parameters will update your surface. Okay, so we're almost done. And now I'm just going to I'm gonna join these with a Boolean. So where's that? Solid union. I'm gonna select my shank and then my cap. I'm gonna rename this union. Oops. All right, and then I am gonna create one more thing here. I'm going to make an offset from this curve, and I'll show you why in a second, but I'm just going to slide it up here. and that's fine. I'm going to create a cutter for my gem. I'm going to change the style here by pressing on the kebab menu there. This one looks good. And I'm just going to make sure this is one. All right. And I'm going to create one more profile placer. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's here. I'm going to select this and this guy. All right. And actually, I'm going to slide this over and then mirror it. And then I'm going to sweep. Okay. And then the final thing is to do one more Boolean difference, this and these two. Okay. So I'm going to turn yellow off. So now we have this signet or solitaire, and now we're going to have some fun and see if we can screw it up. So first let's change the size. Let's see how that goes. Okay, how about we'll do something extreme like, I don't know, 4.5. Okay, so far so good. And now let's change the blends. I'm going to change the west one, make it more extreme. Okay, that worked pretty well. Let's change the let's change where the plateau is. So we can grab the cutter and let's slide it up, see what happens. Ah, okay, so, oh, interesting. So something came back. It's this guy. Okay, so I don't know, that's weird. My history updated, but it also brought this union back, so I'm just going to hide that again. All right, that's not so bad. All right, so we can see this has gotten a lot steeper. Oh yeah, we can change the shank widths. So say I wanted this to be narrower. Let's do 3.5. Okay. Wow, it's quite extreme. All right. What about the how about the gem? So let's change this to an oval. Okay. That worked pretty well. Oh, but look, stone is peeking through. So let's maybe what we need to do is change the shank, make it thicker again. And then maybe we'd pull the cutter down a little bit. I wonder if this will bring the Boolean union back. Nope. Okay, now what if we change the orientation of the stone? Let's see here. I'm just going to rotate it. Okay, I know already because the gem guides are associated with the blends. I think my suspicion is it will twist this all up. So let's just see. Okay, so it did do that. Okay, so we ended up with something really messed up, but let's bring the gem guides back. Okay, and let's bring, let's see if we can fix this. Let's just change the blends. So I'm going to first do the south blend, and it's really just in the second curve. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to choose this curve. Did I get it? Okay, and then let's do west and see what happens. I'm not sure I clicked it actually. I didn't. Okay, so I got west, but now let's go back to south because something didn't go quite right there. There we go. Okay. So, yeah, you'll have to change a few things, but that's pretty good, I think. It's really maintaining history pretty well. Now what about like a crazier stone? Well, I guess you can push the limits of this on your own, but let's just try one more. Ah, okay. Something about the union didn't work. Okay. Let's just delete that, and then let's bring this one, the union, back. Okay, let's bring the gem cutter, and maybe it's this profile placer. Let's bring that back. Oh, I see. Okay, edit that. Ah, so this profile placer couldn't make it around here successfully. So that's what happened there. So I guess you'd have to find a different solution to that issue, but you can still Boolean just with the cutter. Yeah. And then you can play around with the profile placer. Yeah, you can even raise and lower the gem. We'll bring it down a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, that should give you a good example of what you can do when you build a signet this way, or a solitaire, and I hope you enjoyed it, and that you build something cool. Thanks for watching.